Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another video of Be the Best DFS Daily Fantasy Sports Talk. My name is Bradford Best, and today is August 8th, 2016, and I'll be going over my lineup strategies for tonight's main slate on FanDuel. I hope you guys got to check out my last video on Saturday. I had a couple great plays. I had Ryan Bryan, who hit 2 home runs, got 70 fantasy points. I also had Jonathan Lucroy. He had 2 home runs and got about 37 fantasy points. My total lineup finished with 178 fantasy points, and I was able to cash in, the few tournaments that I entered on Saturday night. I did mess up on the pitcher position with Christian Martinez. He only got 12 points. He had a bad game, but pitcher was just a tough position on Saturday night. Even Steven Strasburg had a bad game. I'm not sure how many fantasy points he ended up with. But overall, it was a good night on Saturday. I took the day off yesterday. But my results from Saturday has given me confidence to move forward. And, hopefully tonight, I can get some similar results and get to that 200 mark. So let's get started on the slate today. As we know, pitcher is the most important position that you have to pick on FanDuel, one of the highest point upsides. And for tonight, my favorite play at the pitcher position for tournaments and GPPs is going to be Zach Davies for the Milwaukee Brewers at $8,200. I like Zach Davies tonight because he has a fair price. He's playing at home, and I believe the win security is pretty good for the Brewers tonight, going up against the Braves. The Braves, they got a pitcher going out here tonight for his second career start in Wayland. I was at the game for his Major League debut at Turner Field. I was working the game last week, and he really didn't look that good. And being that tonight's going to be his first ever start on the road, I think the Brewers will be able to score some runs on him early, and I think Davies will be pitching with a lead. I think he's in good position to get the win and get maybe 40, hopefully 50 fantasy points tonight. Zach Davies, he's my favorite play. Other pitchers that on the slate that you could consider tonight, you have your 2 top tier pitchers in Jose Fernandez and Johnny Cueto, but they're at a premium price. Fernandez is $10,900 and Johnny Cueto is $10,700. In my opinion, I think both of them are good fades tonight, because when you pay that premium price for a pitcher, if they have a bad night, that kind of ruins your lineup. And for Fernandez, his last home game, I remember he played against the Cardinals. I'm going to look at his game log real quick. He only got 27 fantasy points that game, and that was on July 28th. Now, Fernandez is a great pitcher, but like I said on Saturday, I respect, the Giants' offense. They were able to put up a pretty good game against Steven Strasburg on the road, who's another great pitcher. And with their left-handed bats in their lineup, I think they could have another good game on the road against a good pitcher in Fernandez. The Giants in their lineup, they got Denard Span, the left-handed batter, Angel Pagan, the switch hitter, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, Buster Posey is a good player. So I just respect the Giants' offense, and I don't think it's a good move to pay that top dollar price for Fernandez going up against a more than capable Giants offense. And on the other side of the mound, Cueto, Cueto, he's always a threat to pitch a complete game shutout, especially being that the game is at Marlins Park, which is a big ballpark. But Cueto, some of the Marlins players have good history against him, one of them being Giancarlo Stanton. Let me look at my research. I'm not sure of the sample size, but Stanton, he's batting .385 with 2 career home runs against Cueto. That's one thing that sways me away from him. Another thing is that he's on the road. The Marlins aren't a team that strikes out a lot, So, Cueto, he's a good player, but, paying that price, 10,700, I would like to have like 50 or more fantasy points. And being that, it's two good pitchers on the mound, it's kind of hard for me to see, which team would get the win. So I think at that price, Cueto is someone that, I'm a fade tonight. Now, with that being said, that's just my opinion. Again, they both are great pitchers. You can play them, but you'll be paying a steep price for them, and hopefully it works out for you. Other pitchers on the board, Cole Hamels, not at Coors Field. Not going to really play him there, not at that ballpark. The other pitcher that I really like is Iwakuma for Seattle. I liked him at first because I believe he had a good game in his last start against Boston. At home against Boston, he had 55 fantasy points. And when I first looked at all the pitchers on the board for it tonight, I really, really liked Iwakuma. But when I did the research and looked at the players' batters versus pitcher statistics against Iwakuma, it made me go away from him. I'm just going to read off some of the statistics. Miguel Cabrera, 10 at-bats. He's batting .400 with two home runs. Ian Kinsler, he's batting .375 with 3 home runs in 32 at-bats. Victor Martinez, he's batting .400 with 2 career home runs. Iglesias, he has a good batting average against Iwakuma. Saltalamacchia has a decent batting average. And J.D. Martinez has 1 career home run. So, initially I did like Iwakuma, but, I respect the Detroit Tigers offense for tonight, and I think they might be able to put up some runs on him. So Iwakuma is off the radar for me. And other than those pitchers, a very, very interesting play tonight. I think R.A. Dickey could possibly be a good play. I just don't trust knuckleballers personally, but in his last game at Houston, R.A. Dickey, he had 45 fantasy points, 7 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, and he got the win. I think the Blue Jays are in good position to get the win, but I just don't trust the knuckleballer. He's an older pitcher also. A couple of the Tampa Bay Rays have good history versus him. I just can't pull the trigger on him. But I will say, if you're willing to take a risk, it could pay off huge because his salary is $7,400. He may not be highly owned, so R.A. Dickey could possibly be a good tournament play. But for me, I just think it's too risky of a move. I really just don't trust the knuckleballers. And other than that, at the pitcher position, the rest of the guys I really don't see as having a good game tonight. So again, Zach Davies, that's going to be that guy for me right now at 8,200, decent price. He's a pretty good pitcher, averages 30.32 fantasy points. The Braves, nobody on the Braves has ever faced this pitcher before. The only person who's faced him is Matt Kemp. So with that unfamiliarity, I think that could go to the advantage of the pitcher. And he's at home. And again, the Braves pitcher Whalen, he could have a bad game and it could be an easy night for the Brewers. But I could be wrong because the last 2 nights, the Braves, they really surprised me. Their bats, they were swinging the bats well, and, they scored some runs the past 2 games. But don't forget, the first game in that Cardinals series, the Braves got shut out, and Jaime Garcia had 69 fantasy points. So don't forget about that game if you're considering like how the Braves offense has played the last 2 nights. They're not going to do that every night. So now moving on to the rest of my lineup. If y'all have watched the last 2 videos, y'all know how I feel about the stacks. I'm not a big fan of the stacks. I'm gonna continue that strategy tonight. And at the catcher position, one of my favorite tournament plays for tonight would be Stephen Vogt for the Oakland Athletics. is more so of a value play or a punt play, if you will. His salary price is, I feel, he's underpriced. At 2,400, they got him, priced like a scrub or something. But Steven Vogt, in my opinion, he's a pretty good player. He's a left-handed batter facing a righty in Gosman. The wind is supposed to be blowing out in Oakland. I think the more proper price for him would be around 2,800 to 3,000. And seeing him priced at 2,400, I think he'll be a great value play for me. I really think that he could get a home run out tonight. He only has 8 home runs on the season. I guess he's kind of been struggling, but at that price, I believe he's a good value play. If you're not really considering the price, other catchers that you can consider, definitely Jonathan Lucroy in Colorado, lefty versus righty matchup. They just bumped his price all the way up. I used him on Saturday night, and his price was 3,000. Now tonight his price is 4,300. Now don't get me wrong, I think he's in a good spot, but that high of a price increase, I just think that's too much, and that's just giving me reasons to fade him. I don't want to pay 4,300 for the catcher position. Now, if you're one of those people who stack, maybe you can include him in a stack. You can stack this entire game, the Rockies and the Rangers. Lucroy, he's in a great position. His salary is just too high in my opinion. I think Evan Gattis is a good play tonight. They bumped his salary up a little also at 3,300. The wind is supposed to be blowing out to left field about 11 miles per hour according to Roto Grinders. So with Gattis being a right-handed pull hitter, he could be an interesting play tonight. The game is in Minnesota. Victor Martinez, as I mentioned earlier, his batter versus pitcher statistics against Iwakuma, he's batting 400 with 2 career home runs. Not sure how large the sample size is, but Victor Martinez, he's definitely in play. He's also a switch hitter, so you get that lefty-righty matchup regardless. Just looking through the player pool. Possible punt play, Saltamakia for Detroit Tigers, 2,300. If you just want to punt at that position, he could be a possibly good play. And that's honestly all I see at the catcher position for tournaments and GPPs tonight. Catcher is normally like a slim position, not too many really high point production players. So I'm going to move on to the next position. First base, the position that is stacked almost every night. I was torn between 2 players as my favorite plays for tournaments tonight. One is Miguel Cabrera at 3,900, and the other player I like is Joey Votto at 3,800. Miguel Cabrera, I love his batter versus pitcher statistics versus Iwakuma. 10 at-bats, batting 400, 2 home runs. In the past few games, Miguel Cabrera, he's been on a little hot streak. He had 0 fantasy points last night, but the 3 games prior to that, 19.5 fantasy points, 12.7 fantasy points, and 21.7 fantasy points. And if you look at his game on August 2nd, he had 37.9 fantasy points. But the thing is, all of those games were at home. So maybe now that he's traveling to Seattle, he may go on a downward trend. I don't know, but the statistics show that he's pretty good versus Iwakuma. And, I really do like him. But for now, I think I'll rather go with Joey Votto for 3,800. I think he's a good pivot play from Miguel Cabrera because a lot of people probably see the same thing that I see with Miguel Cabrera, and he may be heavily owned. But I really do like Votto tonight. He also has a good batter versus pitcher statistic versus who is this? Waka, the pitcher for St. Louis. It's a pretty good sample size. Joey Votto, last 5 years versus this pitcher, he has had, I believe, it's 24 at bats. He's batting .375 with 1 career home run. It's a lefty versus righty matchup. I look at the game log. Yesterday, Votto, he walked 3 times. He didn't get any hit. So I imagine he'll probably be anxious to swing the bat after walking so many times yesterday. But at 3,800, Joey Votto is probably the play I like for tournaments and GPPs tonight. A lot of people will go to Edwin Encarnacion. You know, a lot of people probably pick Mark Reynolds just for the game being at Coors Field and that being a lefty-righty matchup for him. Chris Carter might get some love tonight. Possibly Brandon Belt. You know, the people who try to be sneaky and go against Jose Fernandez. But I really like Joey Votto. He's the second highest salary player at first base. But I believe he has a good game tonight. He can get walk. He got home run power. It's not the greatest ballpark for hitting, the stadium in St. Louis. But, you know, I'm a big fan of batter versus pitcher statistics. So Joey Votto is the player that I like for now at first base for tournaments. And other than that, you know, that's all I see at first base. Also, Chris Davis, you could put him in there for Baltimore if you want those. If you do a Baltimore stack, I think he'll be great. But like I said, you know, I'm not a stacking type of person. And Chris Davis, I'm not a fan of him because he strikes out too much. Moving on to the next position, second base. Right now, I got a value play in Jonathan Scope for the Baltimore Orioles. Let me look at this. Scope, he has a good batter versus pitchers history against Graveman for the Oakland Athletics. It's a small sample size, 4 at-bats. He's batting .750 with 1 career home run. On the season, Scope, he has 17 home runs, which shows he has some power in his bat. And the wind is supposed to be blowing out in Oakland tonight. According to Roto Grinders, 14 or 15 miles per hour. That's definitely conducive to, like, you know, home runs being hit. I look at his game log. Scope, he has struggled. He hasn't even hit a home run, you know, on the list of games on his game log on FanDuel. And it dates all the way back to July 28th. So maybe he's due for one. But the main thing is his price is low enough where it won't hurt me if he has a subpar game. At $2,900, below $3,000, I think that's an appropriate price for him. And he definitely has the potential when you consider the weather in Oakland and his batter versus pitcher statistics against this particular pitcher. If other than Scope, Jonathan Scope, as I mentioned earlier, Ian Kinsler, could be a great play. Great history versus Iwakuma. He leads off most of the time, so he gets the at-bats. I think Scooter Gennett against this Braves pitcher, Waylon. Gennett, he's a left-handed batter going up against a rookie pitcher in his first road game, a righty. Scooter Gennett definitely in play. Of course, D. Gordon, you know, because he can steal bases whenever he gets on. Matt Carpenter, I see he's leading off, but it's a lefty matchup. I wouldn't pick him, but Carpenter leading off, you know, he definitely has the potential to put up big games. You also should consider Brian Dozier for the Minnesota Twins because the wind is supposed to be blowing out to left field, and he's a power hitting second baseman. So Dozier could be a great tournament play. And Travis for the Blue Jays, he's been having a pretty good week the last few games. He's leading off again, a good price of $2,700. He could be a nice play. And that's about it I see at second base. This is one of the positions I paid down for now. And, you know, I like Jonathan Scope at second base, but there definitely are better options if you want to spend up at that position. At the next position, I was torn between two players at third base that I liked tonight. One was Josh Donaldson because in 14 at-bats against Orodizzi for Tampa Bay, he has 3 career home runs. He's only batting .214, but with 3 home runs in a sample size as small as 14, and Josh Donaldson at home, I think he's a good play. The only problem is, his salary, $4,200, is kind of high. So the second player that I like at third base is Evan Longoria. He's a little cheaper at $3,500, and he has a pretty good history against R.A. Dickey. He's batting .298 with 2 career home runs, and if I'm not mistaken, the sample size is at least 40 at bats. And Longoria, I think, with going up against a knuckleball pitcher in that small ballpark in the Rogers Center in Toronto, I think he's in line to get a home run tonight. And if you look at his game log, his last 2 games he hit a home run. And it's important to stay on the hot hand when you're picking these players. And when I consider those factors, that he has 2 career home runs, he's homered in his last 2 games, the ballpark isn't that big that they're playing at, I love Evan Longoria tonight at third base. He's batting third, so for that price, $3,500, he's going to be my favorite play at the third base position. But again, Donaldson, I think he's a good play. Of course, Coors Field, both sides, Arenado, Adrian Beltre, they both were good plays. Manny Machado, we saw what he did yesterday, 3 home runs, so he could be an interesting play. Pedro Alvarez, I think they'll put his price up too high, $3,500. I think that's a little too high for him, but he's been hot recently. And just going through the player pool, I think that's about all I see for the third baseman that I would play for tournaments tonight. I don't really see anyone else. Maybe the guy from Philadelphia, Franco. It's a lefty versus righty matchup. And Franco, he is a power hitter, but that's a big ballpark, and it's hard to hit home runs out of there. But his price is pretty decent at $3,000, and he will most likely go overlooked with all the other possible third basemen you can pick. So Franco could also be another good sneaky play. And that's about all I have to say for third base, with Evan Longoria being my favorite play. Also Donaldson, but that salary price a little high. Moving on to the next position, shortstop. This is kind of like a gut call by me. The guy I got for tournaments right now is Johnny Peralta of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's just coming back from off the disabled list. He hasn't really played that many games, but it's a lefty versus righty matchup, and he's going up against a pretty bad pitcher in Reed for the Cincinnati Reds. I really think a lot of the Cardinals right-handers are good plays tonight, and with Peralta being at a decent price of $3,100, he's not a very popular player. I think he's a great tournament play tonight at shortstop. He hasn't hit a home run since July 16th. So I think he's due for one. And, being that it's a lefty versus righty matchup, he's at home, I think he's a great play at the shortstop position tonight. Again, all the Cardinals, Piscotty, Holiday, Grichuk, Molina, if he play, I like the Cardinals. If you're thinking about stacking, I don't stack no more, but the Cardinals could be a pretty nice stack. Other players at shortstop, Villar, if you can afford him, that's a high price tag, $4,400. But Villar, I think his name Jose, Jonathan Villar for the Brewers, great play against Wayland for the Braves. And he's leading off, so he's a great play. Corey Seager, he's a good play, lefty versus righty matchup at home. Maybe Correa. I can't never get him right, but he definitely always has the potential. Y'all know Brad Miller is one of my favorite players, but I don't know if he know how to hit that knuckleball. So I wouldn't mess with Brad Miller tonight. I could be wrong. It's a lefty versus righty matchup, but I don't believe he can hit the knuckleball. I believe in 9 at bats. He's hitting 222. I may be mistaken though. Troy Tulowitzki, I think he could be a possible good play. Playing at home in a small ballpark, batting 6 tonight. And that's all I see at shortstop. I think the chalk will be probably Villar and Seager and Correa. Peralta, he may go overlooked, but I like him tonight. I think the pitcher for Cincinnati, Reed, I think he's horrible. And, I just got a feeling that Peralta is going to hit a home run off of him. He's faced him 2 times. He's 0 for 2. But I think third time's the charm. He's going to get him tonight. And moving on to the last position, the outfield position. The first outfielder that I like tonight, who's probably my favorite tournament play in my whole lineup, is Giancarlo Stanton. His price at $3,400, I believe that's entirely too low. I looked at his game log. He's homered in the last 2 games. And to add on to that, he has a great history against Cueto. As I mentioned earlier, where is it at? He's batting .385 with 2 career home runs. I believe it's in 8 at-bats. But Cueto, I don't think he's the kind of player that's going to back down from Stanton. A lot of pitchers, they'll pitch around a great hitter or walk him or something like that. But with Cueto being a great pitcher, I think he's going to go right at him. And when you consider the history that Stanton has against Cueto, and he already homered his last 2 games, we know he's a streaky home run hitter. He won the home run derby this year. He's at home. I think Stanton homers for the 3rd straight game tonight. And he's my favorite tournament play. And his price is just too low. I don't think you can pass up on him. Giancarlo Stanton, he's a lock in my lineup at the outfield position. Another outfielder that I like tonight is Mark Trumbo. I like to pick him a lot, but, he's been struggling, since after the All-Star break. He still has 31 home runs on the season, but if I'm not mistaken, he got maybe 2, maybe 3 after the All-Star break. He's been struggling. But he has good batter versus pitcher statistics versus Graveman. If I look it up, where did I write that at? Sorry. 5 at-bats, he's batting .600 with 1 career home run. Like I mentioned earlier, the wind is supposed to be blowing out in Oakland. Trumbo, he has the power. He just has to. He has the potential to do it. He just been struggling, but tonight, I think, is a night where he can, get another home run. So at $3,500, decent price, not too high. Trumbo is another player that I like in the outfield. And my last outfield position, I wanted to get just a little bit of exposure to Coors Field. So I'm going with this guy that I like to play a lot. It seems like I can never get him right neither. Ian Desmond. Playing at Coors Field versus a left-handed pitcher. Let me see if I got any statistics. I don't really have any. He don't have any batter versus pitcher statistics against this pitcher, but I just feel he's in a good spot. He normally bats towards the top of the lineup, first or second or third. Lefty versus righty matchup in a good hitting environment in Coors Field. So since I had enough money, at $4,200, I like Ian Desmond tonight for my last outfield position. So if I go through the rest of the outfielders for tonight, excuse me, Ryan Bryan could possibly be a good play. I do believe in the lefty versus righty matchup, so I don't like Blackman and Chu tonight. I don't like Blackman for the Rangers or Chu for the. Blackman for the Rockies or Chu for the Rangers. Maybe J.D. Martinez. I really, really like Piscotty. I like him a lot. I may even adjust my lineup and use him instead of Mark Trumbo. I'm going to look at his game log. He hasn't hit a home run since August 3rd, but, you know, Piscotty, I think he's an interesting play. I really think he might get a home run tonight. Again, all the Cardinals, Matt Holliday, that's about all I see at the outfield position for tonight as far as players that stick out to me. I really like that Piscotty, looking at it, 3,500. I might have to adjust this and put Piscotty in there. But that's about all my thoughts for the lineup. To give a quick recap, at pitcher tonight, I like Zach Davies. Think he's in a good spot, you know, against the Braves. He's playing at home. Hopefully he can get 40, maybe 50 fantasy points. I think you have to, in my opinion, you have to fade those top two pitchers in Fernandez and Cueto, because, you know, paying that premium price, that just kind of restricts you from, you know, spending up on bats. Other possible pitchers, R.A. Dickey, you know, he could have a good night, he could have a bad night. Just too risky for me. So Zach Davies is who I like at pitcher. And again, no stacks for me. I'm going away from the stacks. I like Stephen Vogt as a value play. Love Joey Votto. I think Miguel Cabrera could also be a good play at first base. Another value play at second base in Jonathan Scope. I love Evan Longoria tonight, but I also like Josh Donaldson. I really like Johnny Peralta, because I think he's a very good sneaky play tonight. Stanton, he's my favorite. They got his price at $3,400, which is entirely too low. This guy is on fire. He's a lot for my lineup. I'm hoping that Ian Desmond can show up at Coors Field, lefty versus righty matchup. And, you know, Trumbo is a pick that I have based off of, you know, his history. But I'm definitely thinking about putting Piscotty in there. Now, again, to close out this video, you know, I don't believe in doing the stacks for myself because I put one or two lineups out there. If you have enough money to put out multiple lineups, I definitely think a Baltimore stack is good. The Coors Field game, both ways, that's a good stack. The Cardinals is a good stack. And I think the Detroit Tigers is also a good stack. But, you know, I'm no stacks. I can't mess with them because stacks, they limit you, and there's so many options out here. You don't want to be limited. You just want to try. I want to try to pick the best possible players. But this video is getting kind of long. Don't want to keep rambling on and on. Thank everybody for taking the time out to watch this video. I believe I have 7 subscribers now. Thank each and every one of you for subscribing to this channel. Thank everyone who's following me on Twitter at BeTheBestDFS. Make sure you join the Facebook group. Just search the hashtag BeTheBestDFS, and just thank everyone for all the support. I'm definitely going to just keep working hard at this, keep doing my research, and hopefully I can, you know, hit a breakthrough. And hopefully you find this video helpful and you like the video. And hopefully you can win some money, I can win some money, and we can just help each other win some money. Just reach out to me on all social media outlets. And, you know, that's about all I have for today. Make sure you get your lineups right, and I'll leave y'all with what I always leave y'all with. Try to be the best tonight. All right, I'm out.